Is there a insider within the White House? They're in the House. That is ratting out Donald Trump and Pam Bondi and others to the Wall Street Journal. Where are they getting all of this insider information to run these front page articles? And why are they so confident they're going to win their $10 billion defamation case against Donald Trump? Who's the cooperator? I'm looking at you, Dan Bongino, former right-wing podcaster, now deputy director of the FBI. I'm looking at you, Kash Patel, former right-wing podcaster, now the head of the FBI. We explore that and all the new developments about the grand jury transcripts and what judges are doing about it on Legal AF, the podcast. And here's a clip. Because her lawyer is David Oscar Marcus, who was the mentee for Alan Dershowitz, who is connected, who is a friend of Todd Blanche. They've appeared on their podcast together. They've been giggling buddies for a long, long time. Todd Blanche does not go into prison to visit Ghislaine Maxwell unless he got a proffer from David Marcus, the Florida lawyer representing her, in which he told him what she's going to say. It is obvious she's going to exonerate, if that's not quite the right word, but she's going to exonerate Donald Trump, or they wouldn't be going through this kabuki theater of going in to visit her. At the same time, Marcus is lobbying publicly for a pardon. So, as you said, a desperate person will say anything. She'll sing for her supper. She'll say that he was not in the files, even though we know that they were, or that he was not on the planes, or he was not, no young women were set up with him in order to have, in order for there to be a sexual misconduct or pedophilia. She'll say something like that. And then he will pardon her. Now, you got that going on. Then you've got, as you said, they're conflating purposely in the public's mind what are the Epstein files. I feel like I'm on the X files. And the Epstein files for the public is all the things that you outlined, plus some other things. Search warrants executed on Jeffrey Epstein. Michael Wolff is going to be back on Legal AF tomorrow with more original reporting about his interviews with Jeffrey Epstein in 2014, the safe that he saw of Epstein, the photos of Donald Trump with young women that he saw. And where is the safe? Where is the hard drive? Where is the data from, and Maxwell too, Ghislaine Maxwell too? Where's the search warrant? Well, we know where it is. It's the quote unquote truckload of information that, according to reporting in the Wall Street Journal, dozens and dozens of FBI agents worked 12-hour shifts to go through, which resulted in a one-page joint, undated, unsigned memo from the Department of Justice and FBI that said, nothing to see here. I don't know why Pam Bondi said there's a client list on her desk. We don't have a client list. And, we don't, and that's it. And here's the video. He wasn't murdered while he was awaiting trial. That's not what the people wanted, because that's not true. And now we've got the new reporting. And I love that it came through the Wall Street Journal, which was a big FU to Donald Trump, who once again stood behind the rigorousness of their reporting about what they reported. And now the new reporting, which was Donald, as you said, Donald Trump was briefed in May. And he denied when ABC asked him in an interview, Mr. President, were you briefed by Pam Bondi and told that your name was in the files? No, I was never told that. That's a lie. That is a lie. She told him he was all over those files. In fact, at least 20 very powerful men, according to victims' lawyers who know what's in the files, are in that file. Now, that may not be a client list, but that's a list of guys that are in those files that need to come out. Now, the judges that are handling this are doing it in different ways. You got 3 judges now that are dealing with the federal grand jury, what Donald Trump calls the Epstein files, which is how you described it, the grand jury transcripts. You got Judge Berman in New York, you and I know well, who is handling, who was presiding judge over the Epstein case when Epstein died. I'll leave it at that, awaiting trial. So that's a 2019 grand jury that was impaneled, and they're trying to get those, but they're not really trying. They made the request. Judge Engelmeyer is handling the Maxwell 2020 grand jury, because he took over after Judge Nathan got elevated to the Second Circuit. So both of them issued their orders kind of similar, that by August 5th, they want a few things. They want the government to go through the transcripts, at least up there, and show how they'd redact them to make sure, as Judge Berman said, how the 1,000 victims or more are going to be protected and unvictimized again. So they want the government to go through that exercise, which the judge will review privately. They want statements from the estate of Epstein, apparently, and from Ghislaine Maxwell. Marcus says, I'll give you a statement, Judge, but I want to look in the grand jury testimony. And of course, his buddy, right on cue, Todd Blanche, said no objection. So we got that whole bullshit going on with their review. Now we move to Florida, where the original Epstein prosecution took place, that's the one that ended with him copping. I mean, sweetheart deal is not even the right. I don't even know what this is. Just criminal deal. That he had a deferred prosecution, and he copped a charge to a state charge to soliciting prostitution from a minor, and that's signed by Alex Acosta. So for the conspiracy theorists that have their bulletin board at home with all the red ribbons, red yarn, Alex Acosta, who struck that deal with Epstein as he continued to rape girls, got promoted and became Donald Trump's labor secretary, of all things. So that set of files is under the auspices of Judge Robin Rosenberg, who I know well, who sits in the West Palm Beach Division of the Southern District of Florida. And she said, look, I looked at Rule 6, the criminal rules, and nothing that you're telling me allows me to open up the files of the secret grand jury. You haven't hit any of the factors that are required for Rule 6E. And you admitted, Department of Justice, that you don't meet any of the factors or the 11th Circuit precedent. So I'm not, and it's over. I'm closed. I'm moving all these motions over to a new case number assigned to a new judge. But no, you're not getting the Florida Epstein files from the grand jury either. But again, just to round it out, that's not what people want. Let me just read to you, Karen. You can answer these questions. So from our audience, Susa, Marcy Shaka, and Deborah all came up with a similar set of questions. Who is behind the Wall Street Journal slow reveal of the Epstein articles? And do you think the Wall Street Journal will drop more? What do you think?
I think that there are clearly some insiders who are talking. It could be people who've recently been fired from the Department of Justice who have worked on these cases. It could be anybody, but I think they clearly have some insiders. I don't think they would have published what they have said if they weren't 100% sure. And sometimes mainstream media journalists, it can be a little frustrating for people because, especially really reputable journalists, unless something is corroborated 10 times over, they're not going to publish it. And so for the Wall Street Journal to publish what they did, they have some insiders and they have some inside information. So I think, yes, there's going to be more coming out because I think whoever's talking is just got started and we're going to see a series of articles. That's what I think.
I agree with you. And I think Rupert Murdoch and Michael Wolff's going to be on Court of History / Legal AF tomorrow. And I know one of the things that he believes, well, he said that Rupert Murdoch thinks that this is his reporting. Rupert Murdoch thinks Donald Trump's an asshole, has always thought that. Publicly, he said he wants to make him a non-person. He thought that the Jan 6 would end his career. He's surprised that it didn't, and he wanted it to. And of course, he's pissed off they had to pay $787 million to Dominion Voting Systems because he decided to get into bed with Donald Trump and the big lie about the election being stolen in 2020. And pushed it until he had to pay up almost $1 billion to Dominion to settle it. And I think that is always stuck in the craw of Murdoch. Nothing gets published in the Wall Street Journal and the Fox of this nature without the Murdoch's signature, without their approval. And I don't see them bending the knee. I mean, if Michael Cohen was right, then they would stop reporting about the Epstein, not do daily hits like you said, coming out probably from an insider. And then, of course, now that's given the permission structure to the New York Times to do it. Now, the only, if you look back on it, the only media entity that's been consistently reporting on the Epstein thing since before it was a story is Midas Touch and Ben. I mean, they were hitting this story so hard and so accurately. We joked that other than Julie K. Brown, who brought down Epstein as an intrepid Miami Herald reporter, there's nobody that knows more about what's happening and what should come out and be the focus of the public right now than Ben. Welcome back. That podcast I founded with Ben Meiselas about 5 years ago. We call it Legal AF for a reason, and now you know why. We sit at the intersection of law and politics so that you don't have to, and we bring it to you on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the YouTube channel for Midas Touch. We do ad-free versions that you can pick up on Legal AF Substack, and we also do, of course, audio podcast platforms. We really need the help there. We need more audio downloads, more comments, more 5-star reviews. That helps the show as well. So until my next report on all things Legal AF, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.